Christine was in Tibet at that time, and my meditation teacher gave me a call and introduced me to Dr. Christine. And since then, we kept contact, and she's really guided me to the different areas of meditation and gave me different viewpoints of what meditation's like. And from her, typically from her like medical viewpoints and Western, more scientific viewpoints of meditation. And when she started her YouTube channel last year, I was like, you know what? This is the best time to start with my meditation club, because she posts a lot of great content and has done so many guided meditation videos, which is very easy to follow. And I just wanted to like share that with my high school. And I feel like a lot of high schoolers, they have a lot of stigma towards meditative practice, and they don't really understand the connection between stress management and meditation. So I really felt like by doing the meditation club, I could do that. And meditation allows us to control our stress, but it doesn't really like get rid of it. So it keeps it at a controllable amount, and it makes it much easier for us to handle. And our club meets every week on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock, and our meetings usually last 10 to 20 minutes. And I play a different meditation video every time, so it allows different students to find their own meditation that they like. And I could do like a breathing meditation that she's done, and one with like patience and anger, and she has done so many amazing meditation videos, which you could check out on Dr. Christine's channel. And anyways, I don't want to waste too much of your time. So thank you so much, Dr. Christine, and Free Your Mind, for giving me this opportunity to be here today. And I'm going to pass this on to Nahani, who will introduce Dr. Christine and Free Your Mind.
Thanks, Shinzo. Yeah, I love what you said about wellness, because as a Free Your Mind member, I am very dedicated to the mental health conversation. So if no one's really caught on yet, or if someone hasn't caught on, my name is Nahani, and I am an event team member of Free Your Mind Initiative. So for those of you who haven't heard of this organization, Free Your Mind is a youth-led organization that is founded around the goal of promoting and facilitating a conversation around health and mental health for experts or non-experts or all people affected. I'm so excited to co-host with you, Shinzo, and also to hear what Dr. Christine has to say today. Dr. Christine is the main host of today's webinar, and just a little bit about her, because I know she'll delve into who she is. I just have a couple key points. Dr. Christine is a psychiatry resident at the Carle Foundation Hospital in Illinois. She attended the University of Pennsylvania, where she graduated on the Dean's List with a degree in cognitive neuroscience. After graduating medical school, she worked for a year and a half in the Tibetan Autonomous Region of China, where she served as the physician for a Tibetan monastery and trained in Chinese medicine. Dr. Farag was a speaker and a faculty member at the annual Psychiatry Network Women's Conference in 2019, where she taught meditation and Eastern wisdom to physicians from all around the country. Finally, she currently has a YouTube channel where she leads meditation and leads meditation and mindfulness to support mental health. You can access this at Christine Farag MD on YouTube, and I think you can plug your own information if you'd wish to, Dr. Christine, but I'm so excited to hear what you have to say.
Oh, thank you all so much for such excellent introductions. I appreciate it so much. I'm so glad to be here, and I was saying it's so cool to be teaching this for Canadians and also youth, like way to be thinking about your mental health early on. Like this is the best way to start things off well and to keep yourselves healthy. Not just mentally healthy, but physically healthy. There is such an interface between body and mind that when you keep your mind healthy, it's easier to keep your body healthy. So I'm so glad that you're all here, and it's such an honor and a pleasure, and you all flattered me with your your fantastic comments. So let's see if this PowerPoint comes up correctly. Cross our fingers, I hope it does. And I will be sharing this screen. So let's see. So I'll share a screen, and then I'll open this up. Okay. Oh, it's working very well. Okay, fantastic. So I'll be talking about meditation and how it relates to mental well-being. So first of all, what are we going to be doing here today? So we want to identify principles and applications of mindfulness and concentration. We'll be cultivating awareness and non-judgment to work with thoughts, feelings, and sensations. And we'll identify methods to increase mindful awareness in daily life. So who am I? I know you guys heard that great intro. So I won't go too much in depth, but yeah, right now I'm a psychiatry resident. So I'm working on the inpatient unit right now in psychiatry, real intense mental illnesses. Previously, I was working with COVID patients. So doing all sorts of, right now, focusing on psychiatry, but as a resident, I've gotten to do, everything from gen med to pediatrics, and I'm in Illinois. And prior to this, I had the pleasure of being in the Tibetan Autonomous Region, where I was able to stay at a monastery and nunnery and really serve as a physician there. But during my time there in service, I felt I gained more from the monks and nuns that were there than anything else. So I learned from them so much. And by watching and occasionally participating with them in their daily meditation and mantra activities. I did graduate from the University of Connecticut School of Medicine. I had some honors there. I honored in leadership, I honored in psychiatry, and I also graduated from UPenn, and I majored in neuroscience. So my interest in the mind started pretty early in my education. So why am I teaching about meditation training? So not all psychiatry residents are teaching about meditation. So I've been practicing, I first started practicing meditation in 2012. I mean, maybe a little earlier than that, but that's when I really formally was like, okay, I need to do this. I'm going to start doing this. And I started studying under my current meditation teacher, who's a meditation master. He lives in Tibet, but he travels around the world to teach. The 14th Chunyi Jangchu Rinpoche. So a lot of my training really comes from his direction. And also, the way I've been taught meditation is kind of through a lineage. So the techniques I've been learning are techniques that have been passed on through, generations among masters and students. So I'm a student of a fantastic master. And I was able to train with monks and nuns while I was working in Tibet. That was a fantastic opportunity. And even just being around them and seeing that their way of living really incorporated mindfulness, really incorporated meditation. That was a great lesson for me. I've also personally received teachings from amazing masters such as His Holiness the Dalai Lama and His Holiness Karmapa, both of whom I met in India. I'm also a registered yoga teacher, so we incorporate mindfulness there. I've also, as was noted, taught meditation to physicians at the Women's Psychiatry Group annual conference, also to physicians at Loyola University Medical Center, and to medical students at my alum. And I do teach meditation to patients, not so much anymore on the inpatient unit, but while I was working in an outpatient setting, I was able to give some instruction. I have a YouTube channel where I teach guided meditations, and maybe I can, maybe Shinzo can put a link to one of my meditations in the chat, and that way you guys can access it whenever you want. Even there are some residents who are preparing for exams, and they get kind of, people get stressed before exams. So they use my meditations to relax or help them go to sleep. Sometimes before, interviews, people will use my meditation. So you're welcome to check them out. And I've more recently become a medical editor at dovmed.org, where they also feature some of my guided meditations. Okay. Oop. So meditation is actually a formal practice of mindfulness. And the term mindfulness kind of gets bounced around quite a bit. So what exactly is mindfulness? So mindfulness can mean so many things. And when we hear mindfulness, it could just mean, paying attention, awareness, wisdom, non-judgment. The term letting go, I love so much because that really is an important element of meditation. The beginner's mind, present moment, deep breathing. So all of these elements can be incorporated into what we term mindfulness. And so where does mindfulness training or meditation training come from? And as I alluded to, spending my time in the Tibetan Autonomous Region with these Buddhist monks and nuns, and that my training is in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, it's important to note that meditation or mindfulness goes all the way back 2,500 years. So it's been around quite a long time. And I think that longevity shows us something's working. Something is keeping this ancient wisdom around. People are still practicing it. It's still alive and well. And it's been going steady and strong for 2,500 years. So we can start with one could call the Buddhist Vipassana technique, which in Sanskrit is insight meditation. There's also something called shamatha meditation, and this stems all the way back 2,500 years ago. And then in the mid-20th century, they started doing research on how our behavior is affected by mindfulness meditation. In the 1960s, during kind of the hippie era, it became cool, came over to the West, and that's when it kind of became popularized and became transcendental meditation. And then in 1979, John Kabat-Zinn, he's actually a Harvard professor, he brought it over to Harvard. And now that's where the mindfulness-based stress reduction had its beginnings. And most people that have heard of mindfulness in the West, many of them have heard of the mindfulness-based stress reduction brought over by John Kabat-Zinn at Harvard. And now in the 21st century, we're seeing mindfulness everywhere from healthcare, education, research, even the military is using meditation. So what's the point, right? Why meditate? Why sit down and try and look at our mind? There's a lot more exciting things to do, right? So why even bother? Well, there are some benefits, and these are just a few. So clinically, it's shown to reduce depression. It's shown to reduce stress and anxiety. Research shows that there's a positive relationship between mindfulness and psychological health. And mindfulness is also a clinical intervention. And these are just the mental well-being effects of mindfulness. Oh, sorry, there's some noise. Hold on one moment. Okay. So, yeah, these are just the mental well-being effects of mindfulness. And this doesn't include taking meds. This doesn't include going to therapy. So there's things that you can do without needing to come to see someone like me if you're depressed and anxious. Now, if you're having real serious depression, anxiety, having suicidal thoughts, having panic attacks, really uncharacteristic behavior, absolutely seek clinical health, go for it. There's no shame in that, absolutely. But if you're generally doing okay and you generally feel okay, but here and there you have bouts of feeling sad or bouts of feeling stressed out or bouts of feeling anxious, know that that's pretty normal. That's pretty normal. And there's a way that we can kind of moderate and regulate that by our own breathing and by watching our mind. So it can be a clinical intervention, and I am putting that plug in that if one does have real serious mental issues, even if they just want to make sure that it's normal, go for it. Talk to your doctor just to check in, right? But these are ways. These are mindfulness and meditation is a way that you can help yourself without taking meds. All right, so this is really interesting. This is a Harvard study by Dr. Lazar. She's a PhD, and she showed that meditation actually increases your brain size. So that's pretty cool. Who wouldn't want a bigger brain, right? So the brain actually remodels based on experience. And this is a really technical slide, so you don't need to get into like too much of the nitty gritty, but it's kind of fun to see the real science. So she was able to show that if you ask your brain to worry, it will actually get better at worrying. If you ask your brain to pause, it will get better at pausing. So we can train our brain. And this is really powerful stuff, right? So this comes into more of the mind training. And this is kind of the ancient techniques, the ancient purpose of really training our mind, getting in control of our mind, not really being a slave to our mind, but being the master of our own mind. And this shows how the area of the brain that increases or gets bigger is this area right here, the prefrontal cortex. And this area is actually what makes us special, because this is the area that makes us human, right? Not animals don't really have this big prefrontal cortex that we have. So this is pretty special. And this is the real science. And I know, sorry, this is blurry, but I didn't want to get rid of this slide. And this was just showing that after only 8 weeks of mindfulness-based stress reduction, there was increase in at least 3 areas of the brain. And that's just 8 weeks of meditation. And you've got some areas of the brain that are showing increased gray matter, actually bigger. Like, that is cool. And so her study also showed that through mindfulness meditation, symptoms of depression decreased, symptoms of anxiety decreased, even pain. Even one's pain, they were able to moderate and modulate pain, as well as insomnia. And this drastically influences one's well-being. And areas that improved focus, concentration, and memory, right? So if we want to be thriving individuals, thriving in any areas of life, it's nice to be more focused and have more concentration and have better memory, right? And as students, I'm sure you all can attest to that, right? So technique, so how do we meditate? Okay, so first we'll get into the types of mindfulness practice. So we've got our formal meditation that one thinks of, and that's that we dedicate time and say, okay, I'm cutting out this amount of time and I'm going to be practicing mindfulness. And one could just generally be sitting. Usually in formal meditation, one is sitting. And one could be using a focused attention meditation, either focusing on their breath. That's one of the most common, focusing on the breath, because the breath is always with you, right? Focusing on sound. There's also insight and open awareness meditation. There's also loving kindness and compassion meditation. And then outside of the more traditional meditation, we have body scan meditation, which is a fantastic starting point because we're really helping to direct our mind to our body so we feel really grounded, and it's not as easy to kind of drift off with a thought when we anchor ourselves in our body. So we can do the body scan meditation. There's also even walking meditations. And you'll see even around monasteries, they have something called kora, where they do circumambulation. And during that circumambulation, that time walking and moving, that is a meditation. And then there's yoga, another form of mindfulness in movement. And so one might notice that in all of these elements of meditation, one is really connecting their mind and their body. We're actually connecting our body, our speech, and our mind in all of these things, really integrating as a human being, right? And one could even bring, as one becomes more adept in mindful awareness, one could even bring mindfulness into informal, everyday activities. Okay, so here's a little true or false. You can answer in the chat, or if you don't feel like it, you don't need to do that either. So meditation, true or false? If I am meditating correctly, my mind will be blank. True or false? So I'll give you a minute. Okay, let's see if I can look at the chat. Nice. Okay. Excellent, everyone. It is false. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll look at this little cartoon to kind of get a good demo of that. And look at this gentleman over here. So on my left, so no thoughts, no thoughts, no thoughts. Look at how tense he looks. He doesn't look too relaxed, does he? And this is more like the strain and the stress of life. Look at even his furrowed brow. So that doesn't look like that's working out so well. So what we're really trying to do is returning to focus every time we notice our mind drift off. And I've heard it termed that, you know, what the mind does is it thinks. That's just what the mind does. Thoughts just float through the mind. Our job is not to prevent these thoughts from floating in. Our job is to just watch them and watch them without judgment, right? So we're not grasping, we're not attaching to those thoughts, but at the same time, we're not pushing them away and we're not averted to those thoughts. So we're kind of just holding this space and this awareness for anything that needs to come by. So we are that presence, we are that awareness, allowing for whatever is coming and going. And I love to think of it like the sky, right? So we have this big, vast, open sky. And sometimes we've got clouds rolling through, sometimes rain, sometimes snow. We're not going to prevent those clouds. We're not going to prevent that rain, but we can watch them. And as we become more comfortable watching them, we might even enjoy all sorts of weather, right? So it becomes less stressful and less straining, and we don't need to attach to the various objects and thoughts and concepts in our mind. So we become adept at that. So gom, what is the word gom? So it's actually the word for meditation in Tibetan, and it literally means getting familiar with. So that's such an interesting thought, that the word meditation actually means getting familiar with. We're getting to know our minds. It's like looking out that window, getting to know the sky. We are looking at our minds and getting to know our spacious minds, right? So in practicing meditation, we get used to staying present. And eventually, we might not even be disturbed by whatever we see in our mind, because we know it's just coming and going. We know it's not permanent, right? So it makes life a little easier, a little less stressful, a little less fearful. So even if we're feeling depressed, it's like, well, that thought is coming and going. If we're feeling anxious, that emotion is coming and going. So as we get familiar with our mind, we get familiar with the concepts. Oh, that's my good friend anxiety that I see here and there. So meditation is about learning how to be present with whatever arises in our mind. And this picture is actually from my room when I was staying in the Tibetan Autonomous Region. I love this photo. So applications of mindfulness. So we have, once again, a breath meditation, very, very traditional. I actually recently read about this one meditation master in India, and he will have his students sit and make sure that they can do a breath meditation for at least 21 counts before they're allowed to sit in a loving kindness meditation. He says, you know you're ready for the loving kindness meditation after you're able to sit with your breath for 21 counts. I thought that was interesting. And then there's the body scan meditation, a sound meditation, and even mantra meditation. Mantras I've heard of such as I am loving awareness, or mantras such as Om Mani Padme Hum. So people repeat these mantras, and that becomes a meditation in itself. And once again, connecting our body, our speech, and our mind. Really becoming grounded in our being, really connecting our various channels, right? So let's look at our technique for meditation. And actually, my meditation teacher is here on the right. So in this perfect meditation posture. So in meditation, you can cross your legs as you see him doing on the right. Or actually a perfectly acceptable form of meditation is to be sitting in a chair with your feet flat on the ground. So really you can meditate in many, many places, right? And a mudra while meditating, and these are the traditional 7 points of meditation. This is very traditional. You don't have to do this every time you meditate. This is just the traditional way of doing it. And they say if you set yourself up for meditation with your body really in alignment in this certain way, it just makes meditation easier. It makes meditation easier, but you don't want to be stressed out and freaking out during meditation. You know, is this perfect? Is that perfect? Because that'll kind of throw you off. So it's all about balance, moderation. These are good tips. Nice to know, nice to keep in mind. So our hand mudra. So hands right on top of the left with the thumbs touching. And then you would keep this in your lap. And I was taught that actually this mudra helps with agitation or anger. So it's kind of nice. And I noticed sometimes some peaceful people will sit like this, you know, not even noticing that they're sitting like this. So this is an interesting mudra to help you stay peaceful. But you can use this during meditation on your lap, or you can have your palms flat resting on your knees. Also, this is a really important element, back straight. You want that spine straight every time you meditate. I would say the most important things are making sure you're comfortable and making sure your spine is straight. You want your channels all lined up. You want to be breathing properly. Shoulders balanced, so we don't want to be like back. We don't want to be like hunched over, lopsided. So just, you know, naturally. Neck straight, so not tilted up, not tilted forward. And this is kind of intricate in the beginning. This might not be so essential, but it's good to know if you're starting to meditate for longer periods of time, which I would say wait until you're ready. You don't want to force yourself to meditate for like 20 minutes if it feels unnatural. They say start with short bursts of meditation. So you can do many consecutive short bursts of meditation because you don't want to end up hating it, right? This is a journey. This is a step-by-step thing. So we're building up to the 15 minutes, building up to the 20 minutes, maybe starting with 3 minutes or 5 minutes, right? But as you start meditating for longer points, this tongue aspect will be more important. So putting your tongue up against the top of your mouth. And the reason they do that is because if you've been meditating for a while, you might have like salivary secretions, and you know, you don't want to be so busy with like your swallowing that you kind of get thrown off by your meditation. So having your tongue up against the top of your mouth can be helpful for those longer bouts of meditation. And then one can close their eyes, or there's kind of this way of kind of half closing your eyes, and some people even cross their eyes and look at their nose. But I would say an easy way to start out is eyes closed. Okay, so once again, these are all very fantastic ways to be sitting. Full lotus, half lotus, Burmese style, on a stool. I don't know if I'm saying seiza right, but on a seiza and on a chair is perfect as well. Okay. So let's give this a go. I am going to turn off my video so I can, let's see if I can do this. All right. So I'd like you all to find a place where you're comfortable. Okay, take a seat, you can lay down, all right? So this meditation was inspired by Mingyur Rinpoche, who's a famous Tibetan Buddhist teacher. So if you're seated, please rest your feet flat on the ground, and please keep your spine straight. Don't worry too much about being perfect. Just try to keep it straight. Keep your shoulders relaxed and balanced. Your neck straight, your head not tilted up or down. Your hand either resting gently on top of each other or your palms flat on your lap. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Gently close your eyes as if you were sleeping. You don't have to close them too tightly. Now we will practice being aware of the body. Relax the muscles in your body. Relax the muscles in your head, forehead, face, ears, cheeks, jaw, upper body, arms, hands, lower body, legs, and feet. Just relax, yet keep your spine straight. You can bend your neck forward a bit, so the weight of your head rests on your neck. You can effortlessly rest each part of the body on the one below. In this way, you are resting, but with some strength, and you can find balance. All the parts of your body are resting, one on top of the other. At the same time, there is a kind of strength within you, and your spine is straight. At times, you feel a bit of gravity. At times, you feel some sensations. Just let it be. Whatever feeling arises in your body, just be aware and let it be. Just be aware of your body. In this way, joining your mind and body together. Be aware of any sensations or feelings in your body. Pleasant feelings, joyful feelings, or bliss, or maybe unpleasant feelings, tiredness, or pain, or neutral feelings. Maybe there is tingling, or no feelings. With whatever feelings you notice, just be aware and let it be. For a few seconds, just be aware, but relaxed. Now, we will practice being aware of our surroundings. So now you can expand your awareness outside of your body. Be aware of what surrounds you. Maybe there are sounds, smells, or sensations. The feeling of your shoes, the feeling of the chair, the room temperature. Maybe a bit hot, maybe a bit cold, maybe noises from another area, some movement or chatter, anything. Just be aware. Just know. Just recognize. There is sound. And so your awareness becomes more open and more vast. Stay there. Be aware of any phenomena for a few seconds. Now we will practice awareness of space. You can expand your awareness even further. Beyond your immediate surroundings. Feel the space around you, above you, and the space further down. All phenomena are occurring in space, changing into space, dissolving back into space. Like clouds, they come into space, remain in space, then dissolve into space. And now you can expand even more your awareness. Go beyond the clouds. Space which is boundless. Space which is open in all directions. Everywhere. Be there. Don't worry. You're not going to get lost. Stay there for a few seconds, resting the mind. Now, please slowly open your eyes and be present here. Rest your mind, not only the body. How do we rest our mind? Think of the way you feel after exercise, jogging, hiking, maybe a brisk walk. maybe a few minutes or hours. After you finish exercising, you may sit down with a big sigh and just rest. You don't have to meditate. Just let your mind be, just as it is, and the body also. Just rest for a few seconds. Maybe you feel like, oh, there are so many thoughts, so many emotions occurring in my mind. What should I do with all those emotions, all those thoughts? Same as before. You just be aware. If there are thoughts and emotions, just be aware of thoughts and emotions. Just be aware and let it be. Same as being aware of your body, aware of sound and sensations. Just be aware of your thoughts and emotions. Let them come and let them go. And if you are not aware of them, that's also fine. But not for too long, just for a few seconds. Again, you will see thoughts and emotions, forms, sounds, anything. Just be aware for a few seconds. Anything occurring in your mind, in your body, in your perceptions, just be aware and let it be. Now, you can apply this awareness, this open awareness, with any situation in your life, with any activity in daily life. Short time, many times, everywhere, anytime, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, this open awareness. Okay. All right. So what did we learn from that? We just get to be aware of anything occurring in the mind, in the body, in the perceptions. Just being aware. All right, and if you need mindfulness resources, there's some great apps. I like Insight Timer because you can time yourself, and then there's a nice little gong sound. And also it will tell you all the people in the world that are meditating at the same time as you. So it's kind of cool to see how many people are also meditating around the world. Headspace is also cool. There's Calm, these other apps. And there's so many fantastic books on meditation like Pema Chodron, Thich Nhat Hanh. And I can send you this slide if you guys want it. Some references to all of our literature on mindfulness and meditation. Okay, so this is a good time for question and answer.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so my question is, when you're doing your meditation, when you become sleepy, if you become sleepy, what do you do? What are some tricks, like tips?
So there's so many, and there's so many great meditation masters that talk about this, about when one feels sleepy, right? And I think I remember that you're supposed to tilt yourself up a bit, but also making sure that your posture is correct, that your spine is straight is very helpful. But I believe that that's when you focus your head a little bit up. That's when you can kind of put yourself a little bit up. Yeah. And I can, you know, there is actually, I have heard and read that question before. And that doesn't tend to be the one I have. I tend to be overly agitated, not overly tired. But it is important to remember that like meditation isn't sleeping. And that's why we have our spine straight, right? That's why we have our meditation posture. Because if you're in that posture, you're less likely to be falling asleep.
Right.
So yeah, you can adjust your head and kind of tilt yourself up a bit more.
Okay, thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Hi, Dr. Christine. I just have a question as
Yeah.
well. First of all, thank you. That was very powerful, very cool to hear all of those facts about meditation and wellness. But my question is, how does one set up like a meditation plan or start their journey with meditation?
Oh, that is, that's a fantastic question. I don't know if you guys hear background noise, so I'm sorry if there's some background noise. But first of all, congrats on getting started. That's huge. Once you decide you want to do it, that's like the biggest part, that intention, that motivation. So they say you always start with an intention. You always start with a motivation. And I feel like that's really powerful in reminding you to do it, right? So like a good intention in the beginning, a good intention at the end. So kind of setting your intention. Why am I doing this? Am I doing this so that I can be a better person and benefit others? Or, you know, I want to make my life better, or whatever it is. So having your intention. And then beyond that, I would say, I mean, discipline is of course a huge part, but also keep it simple and short in the beginning. I would say in the beginning, don't say like, I'm going to sit and meditate 20 minutes. There's so many great masters that, you know what they instruct in the beginning? They say 30 seconds. And then after you meditate 30 seconds later, if you're up for it, meditate another 30 seconds. So if you have one of those timers, I'm going to meditate for 1 minute. In the beginning, I would meditate for like, I think in the beginning, 2 minutes and 50 seconds, or like 2 minutes and 30 seconds in the beginning. And you're just building up that habit. So start with something small and get in that pattern. And they say that we form patterns in 21 days. So do it for 21 days. And then you've kind of built this mental pattern. There's actually the science and the research. It takes 21 days to form a habit. So even if it's 21 days of pick a time, every day, same place, set your intention, your motivation, your aspiration, and it doesn't have to be perfect. There's no right or wrong in doing it. It doesn't matter if you have a million thoughts floating in your mind. It's not like, oh, that was a good day, that was a bad day. And that's part of it. Awesome. Yeah, I'm happy for you. Awesome.
I also noticed there was another question in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I also have another question, if that's okay.
Sure, yeah. Do you want me to read what's in the chat? Okay.
Sure.
Oh, someone's in the waiting room. Oh, I'm sorry. Did we let that person in? I didn't see that. Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that. I'm glad that it's being recorded. So the question is, thank you for the presentation. You're so welcome, Siham. I was wondering, are you religious? Can meditation be a way to develop spiritual connections as well as mind-body connections? What a fantastic question. So I would say that I am spiritual. I do have a religious practice as well. I was raised Christian, and now I practice Buddhism. But it's interesting because Buddhism is, as the Dalai Lama would say, a science of mind, right? So it's kind of a way of mind training. And one could use religious elements for sure, if that's part of your aspiration and your motivation, but it doesn't have to be religious. It doesn't have to be. You can kind of call it whatever you want to call it. For some people, when they go to yoga class, it's completely spiritual and completely religious. Other people, it's not. Some people go for a run, and for them, that's like a spiritual, a spiritual thing. For other people, it's not. Some people, dancing is spiritual, or some people listening to music is spiritual. So it's really these terms that we give it. So certainly anything could be a form of, you know, rejoicing or celebration or gratitude or, yeah, so many things can become whatever your intention or your motivation is. So I think that, of course, it can absolutely be a way to build a spiritual connection as well as a mind-body connection. And that's part of your aspiration or your intention. But fantastic question. Yeah. But for those who don't have, you know, that spiritual inclination, you don't need to be turned off by that either, because it's really whatever you want to take from it. Okay. Like at the end, you get to know yourself a bit more. One might call that spiritual, one might not. Okay.
I was also going to ask, sorry, Shinzo, did you have another question?
No, I think I'm good right now. It's been amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Christine.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so happy to be here. You guys are awesome. Man, if I had started at your age, I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed. Fantastic. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My last question, I think, is what is the difference between meditation and mindfulness? Because I know that sometimes they're used interchangeably.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So I actually had a slide in there where I tried to allude to it, but I didn't actually say it. So meditation is like the formal practice of mindfulness. It's like the formal, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do it and I'm going to be really mindful in this formal method. But we can actually bring mindfulness, and mindfulness is a Western term. It's not, I'm not familiar with like the term mindfulness in Sanskrit. But this is a term that we kind of have brought in the West. So we can bring mindfulness or awareness. We can use awareness instead of mindfulness. We can bring awareness to anything. But the formal practice of awareness, a formal practice would be meditation. And it's interesting to note that the word mind in the West is different from the word mind on the East, right? So we think of mind up here sometimes, and you know, in the East, they kind of think of mind can be like more pervasive. It can even be the heart, like the heart chakra, but more pervasive than that. So that's just going into something else. But yeah, that's a very good question. It's a very good question.
Thank you.
And I got another question here. It says, could you please elaborate on the loving kindness compassion technique? And there are so many fantastic loving kindness compassion techniques. I'm going to do at some point, I'm going to have to do a video on Tonglen, because that incorporates loving kindness and compassion. I don't think we have time to go over that today, but with loving kindness and compassion, what a lot of people will do is they will focus on their heart chakra, and they will either start with sending loving kindness and compassion to themselves, and then they'll even extend that loving kindness and compassion to someone that it's really easy to send loving kindness and compassion to, like their mother, right? So you think of, oh goodness, my mother, and you send like, oh gosh, all that loving kindness, compassion. She took care of me since I was a baby, and she just has helped me. She'll give me anything, right? And you practice sending that loving kindness, compassion to anyone it's really easy to send it to. And then you kind of move along and you send it to someone else. Maybe a friend, maybe, you know, not the same closeness as the first individual, but you send it to someone else. And then as you expand sending this loving kindness and compassion, you even practice sending that loving kindness and compassion to your enemies, to people that you're having difficulties with. And then the big whammy, which I love, is you imagine sentient beings filling all of space, like all of space being filled with people, being filled with beings. And you send your loving kindness and compassion to every single one. Every single being that exists, you send loving kindness and compassion. May they be free from suffering. May they have love. May they have joy. And it becomes a really powerful practice, because you, at the end, you don't feel separate at all. You really feel connected. It's really a powerful practice. So that's a fantastic question. I hope I gave gave you a good answer.
Is there any more questions?
I don't see any more in the chat.
Okay. If anyone has like any other questions, doesn't have to be meditation related. It could be like what she did in her like science background. If you guys have questions, you could ask her for sure.
Yeah.
If there's no more questions, I just want to say thank you again, Dr. Christine, for being webinar today and the meditation. It was really powerful, as I said. Thanks, Shinzo, for being here, and thank you to all our guests as well.
Thank you all. It was such a pleasure, really such a pleasure. Anytime. I'm grateful to have been here. And I'm so impressed with all of you. And if you have questions, you can always send me questions and check out the YouTube channel. And wonderful to meet all of you.
Do you want to just quickly restate your YouTube information or where you can be reached at, Dr. Christine?
Sure. Shinzo sent a link, and he can even, Shinzo, I know you like some of the meditations. You have like some preferences. You can even add 1 or 2 of those meditations to the chat room. You can find me on YouTube, just my first and last name, MD. So if you put in Christine Farag, MD on YouTube, you'll see all those YouTubes come up.
This is the breathing meditation, I think. So this is the 10-minute breath meditation.
Yeah, and there's a whole bunch. There's ones for courage. There's ones for confidence. There's ones for forgiveness. I have to do one on Tonglen, which is healing. I'm going to do that one soon. But there's quite a few different ones. I know some people that use them just to fall asleep.
So thank you so much, Dr. Christine. I think that wraps up the webinar unless you have something to add, or if Shinzo, you wanted to add something as well.
I think she did a fantastic job, and I'm grateful, and that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. If you guys would like to participate to another webinar, where sometimes we hold podcasts through the Free Your Mind Instagram or the Free Your Mind initiative, I'm more talking to the guests. They can reach us at Free Your Mind YYC, or our email is also info@freeyourmind.com. But apart from that, I think this concludes it, really. And again, thank you both. And I hope that our journey continues with mindfulness and meditation.
Okay, wonderful. Take care, everyone.
Thank
And
you
if you
so
have
much.
any questions, feel free to send them to me.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.